Harry and Cedric are instantly transported back to Hogwarts, and while I think Radcliffe wishes he could get a do-over of the beginning, this is a really good scene. I love how the Hogwarts band is playing generic victory music, and people slowly realize that something is wrong. And then, once he has lines, Radcliffe nails it.
He's back! He's back! Cedric, he asked me to bring his body back. I couldn't leave him. Not that.
Amos comes down, and his performance over his dead son is gut-wrenching.
This is my boy! My boy!
Even Voldemort does a good job in his attempt at comforting Harry in the moment.
It's all right, Harry. It's all right. He's home. You both are.
I don't think I will ever say that again. We're actually allowed to sit with everyone's grief for a moment. The music is a little lacking, mainly because in our heads we have the knowledge that John Williams could have been the one to do it. And it's a little derivative because it's very reminiscent of Adagio for Strings, which is the most beautiful and sorrowful piece ever written. But there's nothing special about this piece itself. I'm sorry, pal, you did great inside of How to Train Your Dragon. That is a very mild and nitpicky criticism, though. The harsher one is that we need to be manipulated like this because we don't actually know this character. We have spent no time with Cedric and haven't gotten to know him at all. Moody grabs Harry and leads him away to his office to get away from the spectacle. Harry is shell-shocked while Moody checks on him. Moody starts to transform back, and he seems to force himself to stay in his current form because that's how it works. His flask is empty, and he desperately searches for more polyjuice. He asks Harry about the graveyard, and Harry realizes that he hadn't mentioned a graveyard, so now he knows that Moody is suspicious. Moody starts a villain monologue while looking for more polyjuice, which is just dumb. We're to believe that after 9 months of BJ being in constant danger of being found out by Fumbledore, he didn't just understandably neglect to drink his dose recently, but he let himself run out of the stuff? Bull. Once Moody realizes that the jig is up, he imitates Hagrid.
Marvelous creatures, dragons, aren't they?
I don't know why. It implies that he pretended to be him or he imperioused him, which could have been interesting, but this very next statement says that isn't what happened.
Did you think that miserable oaf would have led you into the woods if I hadn't suggested it?
He says that he told Hagrid to show Harry the dragons. He showed Cedric what to do with the egg. He gave Neville the book that had gillyweed in it. More tongue stupidity. He confesses to putting Harry's name in the goblet. He sniffs Harry's blood because it's now Voldemort's too, and he's icky. Then he tells Harry he's going to kill him when Fumbledore blasts the door open using Expelliarmus, because if you can't be consistent like a normal person, at least be consistent in inconsistency, I guess. Gambon tries to be intimidating, but he fails. They pour something down BJ's throat. I don't know what. We were introduced to Veritaserum, but we don't know what color it is. Some may guess that's what this is, but most may not. Furthermore, if that was Veritaserum, why on earth did they give it to him? There was no question he would even try to lie about it. Do you know who I am? Are you Moody? That became impossible to lie about real quick. Is Moody in this room? He didn't actually answer that one. Moody says he's not Moody, and they check his trunk and find the real Moody inside. The brief glance between Snape and Harry when they realize Moody has been stealing the potion ingredients, not Harry, does make me chuckle. Moody transforms back into BJ, and it's a decent body horror moment. This moment is just stupid, and I have no idea what anyone's reasoning was for why Fumbledore makes Harry show BJ his arm. BJ brags that Voldemort's back. Fumbledore says to send an owl to Azkaban to find out if they're missing a prisoner. BJ says he'll be welcomed back as a hero, and Fumbledore says,
Percy, I've never had much time for heroes.
What? Dumbledore is all about heroism. He honors courage in doing the right thing. A better line would be something about a false hero, or no hero worth remembering, or a short-term hero, not I don't care about heroes. Stupid. Also, send an owl to Azkaban. I think they'll find they're missing a prisoner. Need I remind you what was said in the last movie?
How did he escape? Well, that's the question, isn't it? He's the first one that done it. No one's ever broken out of Azkaban before.
This is frustrating because we are never told how Sirius escaped, and we're never told how BJ escaped, and we really need that how explained if you're going to tell us that he escaped Azkaban, and the reason no one is looking for him is that no one has noticed he's missing for 9 months. Minimum.
Shut up about that forever.
Soon. Now it's time for Cedric's funeral, and why does it start like this? Sometimes funerals involve sitting on the stage, usually because there's a lot of people seated and they stand up to speak when it's their turn. But Fumbledore is the only one on the stage, so this just looks really weird.
Now, I think, therefore, you have the right to know exactly how he died. You see, Cedric Diggory was murdered.
And why is he yelling almost everything? Has Gambon never comforted anyone before? Or seen anyone comforted? Speak softer. And why does he say memory like this?
But not to do so, I think, would be an insult to his memory.
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 Memory. We pan up to the ceiling, and I guess we've just broken the ceiling. Consistent in our inconsistencies, as usual. Fumbledore talks to Harry in his dorm room. Harry mentions that his and Voldemort's wands connected, and Fumbledore mutters priori incantatem. That's not what priori incantatem is. We get confirmation that Harry saw his parents, but is reassured that they weren't raised from the dead, and no spell can do that. And then tells him that things will get hard, and he must remember that he isn't alone in this world. Everyone says goodbye to the foreign students. Crumb gives Hermione his address so they can write, and she looks just giddy and infatuated, so I'm sure this relationship will continue in the series. Fleur gives Ron a kiss, and this time it doesn't seem to be meaningful at all. We get this pretty good image of Harry walking and watching everyone that sets him up as being separated from them. He knows what's coming more than any of them, and he's faced greater dangers than any of them. He's apart, separated by a wall. The other schools leave. I have no idea who these adults on the right are. Then, continuing the symbolism, Ron and Hermione join Harry on his side of the wall, keeping him from being alone. Ron wishes they'd have a boring year of school someday. The weight of what's coming hits Hermione, and she tries to get the boys to promise they'll write every day. They say they'll try, and watch as the carriage and the boat leave. Cue credits. Holy crap. Okay, broad commentary.
Dum da da dum da dum dum.
The greatest review of this movie that I have ever heard was from my friend Ben after we came out of the midnight premiere. We walked into the lobby, and it's the first time I remember feeling truly betrayed by an adaptation. He was staring at the ceiling and said, "You know how when you watch cartoons, a lot of them start with previously on and then show a recap of the last episode? I feel like I just watched an entire movie of that." And that about sums it up.
It is painfully obvious that Mike Newell did not care about the books at all, to the point that he didn't seem to try to find out what happened in the later books, because he wastes so much time seemingly trying to focus on and set up things that don't actually go anywhere in the series. For example, he seems to be under the impression, given the amount of setup that he gives it and focus that he gives on it later, that Hermione and Crumb's relationship is actually lasting throughout the entire series. He focuses a lot on Hagrid and Maxime's relationship, even though, while mildly important in the next book, it doesn't really go anywhere either. And while I like Neville getting more screen time, he also seems to be under the impression, given the setup that he gives for Neville preparing for the dance, that it is the beginning of a relationship between him and Ginny. In his defense, which I am loath to give, at this point in the book series, I feel like most people did kind of think, oh, Neville and Ginny, that'd be kind of cute. And the way that he shoots Hermione's entrance at the Yule Ball, he was clearly under the impression that Harry and Hermione end up together, because it is all focused on Harry noticing how pretty she is. Which, yes, there is the Spielberg Wonder Shot, which helps the audience empathize with the main characters and feel what they're supposed to be feeling, but it should not have been from Harry's perspective, and so focused on Harry's reaction.
On an individual level, almost every single scene feels rushed. Sometimes it's how fast the characters are speaking, sometimes it's the editing, sometimes it's the writing, making it feel just unnatural so we can cover what we need to and get on with the movie because we're on a time crunch here. There are a few scenes that are really good. They may not be longer, but they're actually given a chance to breathe and allow the characters to be realistic people for even a full minute. But they're ruined by the fact that every single scene in this movie feels like there's a 5 or 6 hour cut of this movie, and these scenes were cut from that film, and none of them were adjacent to each other. This movie is and then storytelling at its absolute worst. There are almost no therefore or but scene transitions, which does track because the movie makes no sense if you haven't read the book.